my friends, can you believe it's almost 2020?
I really cannot. Time really flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
Well, that just means we've had a year talking about just about everything under the sun.
True enough. And we're going to take a look back at some of our 2019 shows today and revisit some of our favorite discussions. One of the things we talked about a good bit was the importance of friendships here in Sun City.
I agree.
Let's go back to our March and April shows and take a look.
How do you approach friendship here?
Well, I think you have to realize that you can't carry your old friendships with you, you know, and you may not be able to reproduce the same kind of person, the person that approaches you the same. You think, oh, do I really want to tell my life story again? You know, and so you sort of grow into the friendships. Some will remain acquaintances, and some will, in time, become true friends. Things depends how long you're here and who you meet up with and say, that person could really reflect who I am pretty well, and I think I can trust them, and I think I can depend on them. Others I do things with strictly for activities. Maybe that's more of a friendly acquaintance. So I think there's an array of friendships that we have at different levels that unless we really stop and have discussions about it, we really maybe don't put them in those slots.
Yeah.
But they're all important.
But you compartmentalize as well, I'm hearing.
Yes.
But I think that happens afterwards, not before. So, you know, you get a new friend, you're not going to say, well, I'm going to put him or her in this area or this compartment of my life. I think it just happens because I think that's kind of backwards to do it the other way. But you define that friendship as you go along. And you were talking about old friendships. Some of them I look back on and I go like, wow, how were they friends in the first place?
Right, right. Well, you know, I will tell you as an adult male, an adult, that one of the hardest things that an adult male has to do or tries to do is to form a very good, solid friendship with other adult males. And I think part of that I decided was when you're in your productive years, your most productive years, you've got a job, you've got a family, you've got stress, and sometimes you don't make the personal investment of time or energy to make that friendship. But it is a definite hole in your life. And that's a situation which I think is not solvable when you're younger. But when you're older, I think a key word is now you have the time to invest. Who do you want to invest that time and energy with? And that's how you would, I think, start making the sort of friendships that you need to have like a complete social picture.
That makes sense.
Now that's a little heavy, perhaps, but
With that thinking, though, are you limiting your friendships more to people within Sun City, or do you have friends outside of the Sun City community?
well, both. But I mean, you know, the way I look at it is you look at somebody, you meet somebody. There's that first impression, that all-important first impression.
Yeah.
And is this somebody that you think is going to have a similar interest or that has a sense of humor or understands my basically sarcastic nature? You know,
I was wondering about that
things,
earlier.
things you want to do, people you want to do things with or go out to dinner. And how much of that do you want to, pursue, or do you want to just say, okay, that's somebody I know from karaoke club, but that's it. I don't want to go further than that, or somebody that I know from chess club or whatever. And you start compartmentalizing or categorizing your friendships and limiting the energy that you spend.
I think we do, and that was even in some of the research that we did for this. There are different levels. You're speaking of an acquaintance that you might meet in karaoke, and that's really the only common denominator, and that's all you need. Enjoy that person in that venue.
What other attributes constitute a true blue friendship?
Oh, I think it's somebody that you maybe even mirrors yourself a little bit. You like the qualities in them, or sometimes maybe it's a quality that added to yours makes you both best. But I think
I like that. Say
I
that
think-
again. Quality added to
you
yours.
watch the show.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think there has to be trust. I think there has to be almost a magnetism sometimes, or we're apt to write somebody off. But I think over time, as we test out a friendship, we know who's really true blue and loyal, who we can really count on. Or if this is just a friend that's just for a season, and there are friends just for seasons, rather than lifelong.
Okay.
And most of us have left longer life friends when we moved to Sun City. Now we have to determine what level of friendship do I want? Do I want another best friend? Or like in my neighborhood, there are like 11 of us who own homes that are all single women. So there's always something to do, somebody to call. Will any of us become best friends in these next few years? I don't know, but we're friends of some type without naming what it is. We're social friends. We do things for each other. You trust in some more than another.
So, the trust is certainly important. Honesty, I think honesty.
And ability.
Ability.
Yes, by that I mean, knowing their strengths. So if you're in a situation where you need to call upon one of these people, then you know who is best suited to handle your request.
Okay, but that really brings up another point.
What's
That is taken to an extreme. Now you rely on friends for help. We all do, for support. But taken to an extreme, some people use their friends for their own benefit. Okay? And if you identify someone you've met that is attempting to use you, but couldn't care less about how you feel or how you need support from them, then you got a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that is what Aristotle called self-interested friendship,
Okay?
where the person is wanting something from you but really doesn't give a whole lot of care for you. It either advances them, it introduces them to somebody they want to be introduced to, they use you for a short time, but you're very disposable. They're not going to be there in the hard times.
Yeah, yeah.
But isn't it up to us to kind of be smart enough to kind of sense that?
Well, I guess that's my point, is that when it's like my approach is, if you want to get to know somebody, play golf with them. You meet somebody and you get a first impression, and you try to decide from that first impression almost whether there's anything there that would reflect what you want to be in a friend. Do you see yourself actually being a friend to that person? Or is that person so into themselves or into their career or just not interested in you? You can pick up on that pretty easily, can't you?
Yeah, but it almost sounds like the two of you are almost doing a quick mini evaluation before you let them in. Now, for me, there's something around me or whatever that invites you into my spirit. And the thing is, it may be conscious or it may be subconscious.
Or maybe unconscious. I don't know how you live your life.
But the thing is that, yes, you have a responsibility to the friends that you have, but there might be something unique or a vibe, as you said, you get from that person that makes you kind of say, maybe I want to have a conversation with that person. That's not necessarily meaning that I want them to become a friend, but in a social avenue, there might be a business connection. It might be a lifestyle connection. You just never know. Maybe I'll take their card and I'll make a little note on the back of the card the date I met them.
Really? You take it that
Oh,
far?
yeah, I do. If I've gotten somebody's card, then I write the date that I met them and where. Because I want to be able to go back and say, oh, yeah, I wanted to talk to her about, fashion. Or I wanted to talk to her about doing a wine tasting or whatever. So, I do try to, capitalize on those connections that I somehow let into my spirit.
Okay. It almost sounds, Margie, and I know you're the least judgmental person I know.
Is that good or bad?
That's absolutely good. But it sounds like we're being a little judgmental when we get accused of evaluating people and are you worthy to be my friend? That sounds a little negative. And I know you're not that way, and I hope I'm not that way. And do you worry about that?
No. I,
All right. Well, I would argue 2 points. Number one, if you don't know that person personally, then you're not making any connection on Facebook. Zero.
That's not true.
Well, it's
You're not even on Facebook, so how do you know?
because I was on Facebook
Oh.
for 6 darn weeks. And that was
6
enough.
weeks.
And the other thing is that I would argue that people who use Facebook or are dependent on it for their social contact or interaction are the loneliest people in the world and some of the unhappiest.
Not true.
Well, I knew you'd disagree with both, but that doesn't change my opinion.
That's your
Still
opinion.
going to be
So
my
we-
friend?
No.
it seems the takeaway is that friendships are very important to us in retirement, no matter what category of friendship or the length of it.
I agree, Margie. Another great topic was how certain life decisions really defined our futures. Remember?
There are many forks in the road of everybody growing up.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk a little bit about today is what seminal or transcendent event in your life, or maybe there were several, or a series of events that has made you who you are today. Margie, you seem pretty clear on yours.
Yeah, I can pretty much pinpoint a change in my life. It wasn't marriage, it wasn't becoming a mother, it wasn't leaving home. It was later in my adult life, I'd say about 25 years ago. I had been divorced many years, and I made a decision that I would remain single and that I would not seek a relationship, I would not encourage a relationship. I had several experiences, stop and starts of relationships, and they would get to a certain point and I would just say,
I'm
or
done.
feel, that's it, I'm done. But that's not what made the difference when suddenly I had to announce to somebody, you know what, this has been nice, but no more.
You sound
And it-
like a heartbreaker.
Well, I made the decision that I was not going to be that after a very meaningful relationship ended quickly.
So that decision has basically formed and given you the path to where you are today.
It has.
Determined the path, I'll say that.
And with a great deal of relief, I felt I was being honest with myself and honest with other people. And then I began to really establish myself as a single person forever, looking at finances, looking at location, looking at my parent responsibilities. I mean, you have to kind of do a reevaluation sometimes. But that has defined me.
Okay.
I don't want to be seen as a divorced person. That's so ancient history for me.
When I got divorced, I never said that. I went straight to single.
Yeah, or
Because there's a
I'm
label
unmarried.
that people put on you when you hear divorced.
I know.
Well, Tina, was there a moment or a time in your life where you decided something that it's determined basically who you are today?
Well, there were a couple of things. One was out of my control and one was within my control. My mother remarried at my age 15, and I was forced to leave Chicago and move to LA. LA is, they call it La La Land for a reason. I hated it, did not like the whole, Christmas at 80 degrees at the beach. Coming from Chicago, that wasn't a lifestyle that I really embraced. However, after 6 months, I figured out I was only hurting myself. And I became more involved in school and doing things and said that I've got to do better for myself.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that even though you were forced into a situation, you made a proactive decision to change, and that sort of has evolved into how your lifestyle was determined and your life arc, if
Yes,
you will. We went to ask some questions of our residents here, and the question was, excluding marriage and your decision to come to Sun City, what was the most significant single event that was a major factor in identifying you, who you are today? Let's look. Is there a particular event or decision that you made or didn't make that's determined who you are today?
Yes, I would say my decision to become a teacher was very instrumental in my life. I've been an educator forever. I never wanted to do anything else. and I had a wonderful career as a teacher, guidance counselor, school psychologist, principal, college professor, etc. And been very happy with that decision.
At age 4, my grandfather, who was a old-time physician, always wore a suit with a vest and always carried a cigar in his mouth. He never smoked much. Smelled like medicine, and at age 4, I got his stethoscope, and I knew that's what I always wanted to be, and that's what I became, and that's been my life as medicine till about a year and a half ago when I finally retired.
And you know the question. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's been life-changing for me is when I moved to Sun City. And for the first time, I was doing something for myself instead of being the support system for other people. So the biggest thing that changed me was coming to the health club, getting a personal trainer, and learning how to exercise again. And I lost 100 pounds. So because of, the exercise, it's changed my life to be healthier.
Who knew that those were critical moments at the time? I sure didn't.
Doug, we had a great addition to our shows this year when Larry Kilcoff became a regular contributor on his segments entitled Out of My Mind. Here are some highlights.
Number 2, excursions outside your comfort zone are the best way to expand it. Travel on and enjoy the view. Number 3, make living your passions a habit, not an indulgence. Number 3 is my favorite. My primary bucket list dream was to find a retirement community in which I could, as a single person with no nuclear family of my own, build a strong support system of close friends while having a most enjoyable time in the process. Best friends, on the other hand, when they are truly at their best, are like air and water. They enable our survival. Best friends are fiercely loyal and supportive, but it's not all hugs and glad-handing. Best friends occasionally tell us things we need to hear, but would rather not. It is both a privilege and responsibility they've earned because of the deep care and concern they have clearly demonstrated for us over time. It takes a person of extraordinary courage and self-sacrifice to risk the very relationship he or she presumably values as much as you do because they perceive you are on a self-destructive path. Happy people characteristically make fundamentally sound and obviously smart decisions. Unhappy people routinely make stupefyingly dumb ones, and they both tend to reap what they sow. It has been my experience that unhappy people often adopt the t-shirt mantra of, if you're not living life on the edge, you're taking up too much room. And yet they still feel justified in cursing their bad luck when they fall into the abyss. Meanwhile, happy people seem to have a curious way of avoiding major burdens of stress simply by, among other things, eating right, getting regular exercise, and refusing to max out their credit cards. Gee, I wonder how they do it. What I find humorous about political issues is the passion we often devote to them in direct disproportion to our ability and station to actually accomplish much. Why the heck then should I get too animated about changing your views on abortion, capital punishment, immigration policy, or anything else? How would changing your mind have the slightest effect on altering public policy? Political arguments tend to end as they began, with two people toe-to-toe and not an inch closer to a true meeting of the minds. Sometimes I wonder if it was ever on the agenda. I don't know, I thought I had all of life's dumb luck well planned, but I guess the secret is making sure that bad luck doesn't sabotage the most conservative, sober, and responsible behavior that would otherwise qualify you for sainthood. But there is nothing about this time of year that threatens to drive me out of my mind as an elderly single adult living alone. I'm fine, really, and I hope you are too. Besides, it's like I tell people all the time, I'm retired and living in paradise. And if that's not Christmas every day, I don't know what is. So I'm Larry Kilcoff, wishing you a very joyous holiday season, and I'll see you on the backside.
We also explore the importance of communications between seasoned citizens
Right.
and the impressions of Sun City residents that are made every day, both in the community and in the local area.
Yes, indeed. I think the takeaway there is don't be clueless when you're trying to communicate. And remember, you only got one chance to make a good impression.
If I'm having a really bad day, I may not be as patient with somebody else, but I need to
Okay.
check. I need to be aware.
But go ahead.
I was going to say, if she's having a bad day, stay home.
That's an option.
Do you ever run into a group of people or a person, and they're moaning and groaning about something, and you say, you know, that person is just sitting around looking for something to moan and groan about?
I call it B&M.
Well, yeah. This is TV. But, you know, they're sitting around waiting for something to bitch and moan about, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is that those people are never going to be happy. We're watching you. And if that's the image that you're trying to project, then that's not a person that's going to be successful or happy anywhere.
But that's life. We're all not going to be, you know, so what? Let them be that way.
Okay.
If somebody's cranky, they're cranky. It's not up to me to change your personality. I mean, I can smile at them, or I could do like the nod that we talked about to let them know I'm there. But, you know, we have 16,000 plus residents here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all going to act alike, be alike, say the same things, want to get involved. We are who we are, regardless of whether we're Sun City residents or not. So we're like a city.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to us to decide how we're going to react to behavior we don't like.
But bring that closer. Let's talk about your circle of peers or your friends. If that's a situation, like I have a friend who I think she's becoming grumpy, you know, and I call it the grumpy 70s. Not everybody in the 70s is grumpy.
That's for sure. Right, Doug?
But
What?
I kind of see her becoming that person. And I try to egg her on and say, you know, okay, if that's how you are today, I don't let that transfer to me. But, you know, I try to bring it to her attention. So, and find out what's up. You know, maybe she's not feeling well, or maybe something happened. So I feel a responsibility to kind of inquire as to what's going on. Mm-hmm. And if it's a constant thing, then we need to talk about it.
Do you really? Or can you just say, you know what, I think I'm going to move away from this person?
I've invested too much time.
Okay.
You know, it's a
Okay.
friend. You know, I feel that I would be remiss if I didn't do those things.
Try to correct it or
Yeah.
try to, yeah.
Well, but you're inserting yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in.
Yeah, but it may be temporary.
It may be, it may not be.
And if it's
But
not,
the point
guess what?
is,
I'm trekking.
why should I feel any responsibility to step in and help a person be less curmudgeonly, or whatever the word might be? You know,
Is that an attorney's word?
no, that's just my wife's word for me.
Oh, you're one of those, huh?
The thing is that basically we all came down here for a reason, to fulfill our dream of retirement and living life the way we think would be in our best interest, health-wise, emotionally, and so forth, and mentally, of course. And the thing is, if you run into a situation where someone is being rude or doing something that is your pet peeve, that really takes away from the experience, and we don't want that to happen.
Right.
Well, it's going to happen, Doug.
Yeah.
This is real life in a real world. I mean, maybe we don't.
This is
I
a
mean,
real world.
I have grumpy moments. I don't say I'm a grump, but I have grumpy moments.
Sure.
I mean, it feels good sometimes.
One of my, I'm not good about this, but you talk about having you feel what you feel, and a lot of times I think I'm a frustrated attorney, that if I can just give you the evidence for why you shouldn't feel that way, we can make this better, Margie, really, seriously. And that's
You're
not,
not getting anywhere with her, I'll tell you that.
no,
right
no,
now.
that's not a good idea anyway, and I'm very guilty of that
But then
quite
you got to
often.
raise that issue: is this a non-negotiable issue, or is this something that doesn't matter in the long run?
Exactly. Well, and the politics, you talked about the politics, it's very much like your story with the lottery ticket. How many political discussions revolve around things that we're not going to resolve anyway?
Right.
Because we're not elected officials and et cetera, et cetera. But man, we get into it, don't we?
Well, that's our show for this month. We'll be back in January with more things to chat about, and we look forward to seeing you again when we again shoot the breeze.
Happy holidays.